How far have we gone? And some prophecies of Jeremiah about the nations, the destruction of the nations today on the Bible in 1 year with the preacher's husband. Today we are going through Jeremiah chapter 49 and 50, and tomorrow we're going to go through chapter 51 and 52. Now, I want to do something a little different today. Today is going to be all about maps, where it is, and kind of a history of what's going on during these prophecies and with these countries and cities that they're talking about. So we're going to get started with it and we'll dive in. So first off, chapter 49, we're talking about the prophecies against Amman. So Ammon or Amman was a country that was east of the Jordan River and north of Moab, as you can see on the map here. We're going to have lots of maps tonight. And God will, actually his boundaries were not very well fixed, and it often was in conflict with Israel. Its capital city was Rabbah, which we read about here in our readings today. Modern Amman, Jordan, is situated in the valley of the Jabbok River there. The Ammonites were descended from Ben-Ami, the son of Lot. Remember Lot from Genesis 19. During the reign of the Judean king Zedekiah, the Ammonites participated with Judah in a revolt against Babylon, and they continued their revolt beyond the fall of Jerusalem in 587 BC. So Nebuchadnezzar's army took the country probably around 582 BC, after Jerusalem had already fell. So I found it interesting that these guys were still fighting and still trying to make it happen. So next we get Edom, right? So I've put a map up here. The kingdom of Ammon is where we were just talking about. If you go south, you get to the kingdom of Moab. A little further south than that, you get to the kingdom of Edom. That's the area we're talking about right now. Now, chapter 49, verses 7 through 22 is about Edom. And Edom described from, they actually descended from Esau, the brother of Jacob. The Edomites were the subject of more judgment prophecies than any other nation in the Bible. I just found it fascinating that they were the subject of judgment in Psalm 137, Isaiah 34, 63, Lamentations 4, Ezekiel 25 and 35, and Amos chapter 1, and the whole book of Obadiah was about them. Malachi chapter 1. It's just amazing how much judgment was cast against the Edomites. So Jeremiah here was surprisingly softer in his tone against them than he was in his prophecies against the other nations. So I found that a little ironic. Edom stretched from the Gulf of Aqaba, east of the Sinai Peninsula, about 100 miles north, to the river Zered, which flowed into the southern end of the Dead Sea and marked the border between Moab and Edom. Now, Edom was mostly mountainous. It was settled originally by Horim, or also known as the cave people, whom Edom expelled. They kicked them out. So Edom's prosperity came from its iron and copper mines, as well as its position in the king's highway. So if you are mining copper and iron, most trade happened with precious metals and metals of some sort to trade with. Silver was a good one, but they got their wealth from copper and iron mostly, and mining those mines. So hopefully some of this will help you along in your readings as we go. Now, let's go back to this one actually. If you look all the way up to the top of the map here, you'll see Damascus and the kingdom of Aram Damascus, right? So that's what we're going to talk about next. Chapter 49, verses 23 through 27 were prophecies against Damascus. Now, Damascus was the capital city of Syria, or Aram Damascus there. Therefore, the city stands for the entire nation. it appears that the Syrian Aramaean armies actually joined Babylon in its attack on Jerusalem in 597 BC. So they kind of teamed up with Babylon. So they're the bad guys. They're the bad guys that went along with the bad guys. I found that pretty interesting. So next we're going to go to Kadar. Now Kadar was an Ishmaelite tribe in the Arabian desert that is frequently referred to in the Old Testament. Matter of fact, a lot. It's referred to in Isaiah 21, Genesis 25, let's see, Isaiah 42, 60, Ezekiel 27. They were known for their sheep breeding, their dwelling east of the Ammonites, their trading with Tyre, and their archery skills. Their archery skills, that's pretty fascinating. And then, of course, Hazer or Hazer. Now, what I'm showing here on the screen is a map of where a town called Hazer is, but this is not the town that they're talking about here. This Hazer is not the city in northern Israel, so you got to think about that. It's apparently a now unknown town in a desert region because the Lord gave a command for Nebuchadnezzar to rise up and destroy the people of the east. Now the sons of the east, are identified with the Midianites and the Amalekites in Judges, and with other nomadic peoples who often raided Israelite territory. So if you look at this map here and you look south of where it shows Hazer, you're going to run into Jerusalem. If you go in all the way down to where Jerusalem is, that's the point where you want to start shifting to the east, or go hard right quite a ways, and that's where you're going to find where Hazer in theory used to be, but nobody really knows where it is. If they do, I haven't found it. I haven't found where anybody does know, and I haven't seen any maps of any estimations of where it may be today. But there you have it. Now then, the next one is Elim, the prophecies against Elim. That was chapter 49, verses 34 to 39. Now, Elim was the first of Shem's sons. Remember Shem, Ham, and Japheth back in Genesis chapter 10. It was an ancient kingdom about 200 miles east of Babylon in modern southwestern Iran. Its capital city was Shushan, also known as Susa. Elim may be a general name for Persia. It was actually subdued by Assyria and later came under Babylonian and Persian rule. So, the Elamites here were known for their skill in archery, but the Lord, in our story here, takes that away from them. That's going to go completely away. So, we get to verse 39, the last of this with the Elamites. And basically, as with Israel, Moab, Ammon, and Egypt, God promises to actually restore the fortunes of Elam. I found that to be interesting. So you got Israel, Moab, Ammon, Egypt, and Elam. Those are the 5 that God is going to restore. The rest of these, I'm just guessing, they're going to get wiped out. They're done. So we come to chapter 50. When we get to chapter 50, this is all about Babylon. Lots of Babylon. Actually, chapter 50, verse 1, all the way to chapter 51, verse 64 is lots and lots of Babylon. And this is just a map here that shows kind of the extent of where Babylon was during this time period, 625 to 539 BC. So right smack dab in the middle of that time frame is where we are here in our Bible story. So Jeremiah's final prophecy here was against the nations. It's reserved for Babylon. Almost as much space is devoted to Babylon as to all the other nations combined. Now this argues against those who felt that Jeremiah was so pro-Babylon that he could see no wrong with them. I don't think he was pro-Babylon as much as he was just expressing the word of the Lord, because the Lord was using Babylon as his instrument. Therefore, he was just telling what the Lord was telling. But I guess from other people's perspective, it would make Jeremiah look as if he was pro-Babylon, because everything he said was Babylon's going to beat you here, Babylon's going to beat you there, Babylon's going to win, Babylon's going to win, Babylon's going to win. So clearly, that would make people think, well, he's pro-Babylon. Just wasn't the case, though. One thing stood out to me, though. Verse 6 in chapter 50 stood out to me the most. My people were lost sheep. Their shepherds led them astray, guiding them the wrong way in the mountains. They wandered from mountain to hill. They forgot their resting place. They forgot their resting place. How far have we come? Are we lost in America? Have we been led astray? Have we gone the wrong way? Have we wandered too far from the mountain to the hills? Have we forgotten where we came from? That's a question. How far have we gone? When I think about this verse, I think about our ability to speak freely, to talk about the Bible, to talk about God, to talk about things that are in our Constitution that people say that's not okay to talk about anymore. Many states have actually adopted laws that approve the posting of our national motto, "In God We Trust." I actually find that disturbing that states have actually had to do this. Posting "In God We Trust" in public buildings and school classrooms. For instance, in 1992, the state of Kentucky passed the Kentucky Revised Statute, Title 13, Education. It's 158.195, and this is regarding conduct of schools. All right, this is where our kids are learning who they're going to be when they grow up, essentially, minus them going to church. If they're not going to church, where else are they going to learn this stuff? And it says here in this section, it says reading and posting in public schools of texts and documents on American history and heritage. Local school boards may allow any teacher or administrator in a public school district of the Commonwealth to read or post in a public school building, classroom, or event any excerpts or portions of the national motto, the national anthem, the Pledge of Allegiance, the preamble to the Kentucky Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, the Mayflower Compact, the writings, speeches, documents, and proclamations of the founding fathers and presidents of the United States, U.S. Supreme Court decisions, and acts of the U.S. Congress, including the published text of the Congressional Record. There shall be no content-based censorship of American history of heritage in the Commonwealth based on religious references in these writings, documents, and records. So, I ask you a question. How far astray have we gone that we even have to pass such a law when our Constitution of the United States of America says that there will be no law that infringes upon our free exercise thereof, referring to freedom of religion? What do you think? Well, I hope this has touched you. If it has, click the like button, the subscribe button. Share this video if it's touched you. And of course, click that little boxing glove and your little jingle bell so you can get notified the next time I upload a video, which will be tomorrow, for another episode of the Bible in 1 Year with the Preacher's Husband. We'll see you then.